Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today's video, I'm continuing my ranking every Disney animated movie. I am now into top 35, so I'm doing 35 through 31 on this list, or on this video here. Anyways, yeah, actually got some mostly kind of older films on this. And these are all, I should say, 3 out of 5 star movies, which means in my rating system, it's a light recommend. So these are all now getting to movies where I actually kind of enjoy them. These aren't ones I go back to a lot, but I've seen multiple times and don't mind seeing them again, that kind of thing. Anyway, so yeah, let's get to these animated movies here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well here on a Sunday night. Had a pretty good day overall. Got to see Chiefs win again. Chiefs 7-0, only undefeated team in the NFL. Still winning, close games, but still winning. So I've been doing a lot of lists lately. I did see my 100 favorite albums, 100 favorite movie lists. I'm trying to get all these lists done, hopefully by the end of this year, and I got more lists to which I'm excited. I always love starting new lists and stuff like that, and I always got a lot to cover anyways. But yeah, again, here's the Disney animated movies. We're getting to some pretty good ones I enjoy. Other light recommends, but all ones you should check out if you haven't seen them. So let's start number 35. Number 35 on my list is Atlantis, The Lost Empire. I feel a somewhat underrated movie that came out, I want to say early 2000s. It's one of those kind of most forgotten movies, I feel like, that came right after the old Renaissance, which was a huge era, the biggest era of Disney, the late 80s into the late 90s, whatever period, where every movie was a huge hit and did very well. Now we get to a period where I feel like this movie, I don't remember this movie doing really all that well. I don't remember being marketed that much either at the time it came out. Or maybe I was just busy because I was coming out of high school maybe and getting to college by this time. But still, like I said, underrated movie. I think still one, it's not a bad one to catch on. Michael J. Fox playing the main lead, Milo, I believe his name is. And Michael J. Fox does a great job. He's a really good voice actor, actually. He's done like Homeward Bound movies, whatever, the dog movies. He does a really good job. And I think he did the Stuart Little movies, playing Stuart Little. Really good voice actor, Michael J. Fox. I think he does a really good job here as the lead. The lead's I like the lead because he's kind of this super nerdy guy that very smart and has like this theory of like where Atlantis is, but everybody thinks he's crazy or doesn't believe him, and the university that he works at doesn't really have much faith in him. But he eventually gets a rich backer that knew his father. I believe his father was an explorer. So this guy who's a friend of his father's gives him a lot of money and gives him a whole team of people to go find out where Atlantis is. So it's a nice adventure movie, I think. You got a lot of characters here. I wouldn't say they're most memorable characters, but they're not bad. I like this one guy's, I forget what there's kind of almost like his best friend on the group that's pretty likable as well. Kind of this big guy, if I remember right. And of course the lead, spoilers, but the guy that's kind of running the expedition somewhat, kind of in charge, ends up being the villain, as they always are. He reminds me like the villain, like Tarzan. He's that type of villain, just a regular guy, but not a good person, and starts letting power get to him and starts doing bad things. Because of course, Milo wants to get to Atlantis. I don't know, I can't remember if there's an exact reason, just his dad maybe want to explore or whatever, but of course they have to go like under the earth, I think, or something like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. And then eventually do get to Atlantis, which it's kind of cool because Atlantis is one of those, mythical places, I want to say, that you always hear about, like this lost city, like what would it be like anyway. So I like the whole idea of the mythology of Atlantis, and the idea of finding it is kind of a cool idea. Anyways, and then of course the bad guy wants to take like treasures from there, against the native people. And Milo, of course, falls in love with this girl there. And there's actually a pretty cool story behind her that begins the movie and ties in at the end, anyways. But yeah, overall, uh, yeah, just a really good action adventure type. I don't remember being like specifically like very funny necessarily, but I said not the most memorable characters, but overall a solid story and solid animation. And one I've only seen a couple times, but one I don't mind going to see again. So definitely want to check out. At number 35, Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Number 34 and number 33 are kind of tied in together, so I'm going to talk about both of them here. Number 33 is The Rescuers Down Under, movie about mice that, talking mice that are part of this organization that rescues lost kids, anyways. And a girl gets kidnapped by this evil woman, and I forget why exactly she kidnaps her, but probably from ransom or something. But she puts a note in like a bottle, I think, and the bottle gets to this. They kind of gets to this organization that looks after lost kids and stuff. And we have our two main mice. I want to say Bianca is like the girl, and I forget the guy, but it's played by Bob Newhart and Zsa Gabor, I believe, are the two actor and actresses that play the two leads. And if I remember right, I'm trying to remember. It's like their first time ever being on a mission or something like that. Um, anyways, and so it's this thing with these two people. And of course, it's a guy and a girl, mouse, and the Bob Newhart character. He's kind of neurotic. He's kind of got the Bob Newhart type, neurosis, comedy kind of thing going on. But he likes, the girl mice and the girl mouse, and so it's kind of a romance goes in between them a little bit. Anyways, in it, but anyways, yeah. So they go and travel. I love the traveling by the air. They don't have an airplane system, but they have like this what are they called? Uh, Basically flying birds, are kind of like airplanes in this world. And so they have to go kind of this airport kind of place and get on a bird that takes them to their place. What is it? It's a big bird. I forget now what it's called, but albatross, I think. So they have to fly by albatross. And this one is a different voice than the next one I'm going to talk about, the sequel. Because sequel is John Candy, but this one is a different actor, which I'm forgetting his name. But I know I can think of who it is on top of my mind, but it's a famous comedic actor playing the part. And that's always, like I said, one of my favorite parts of the movie is that albatross, flying them over anyway. So they have to fly over and, do some investigation of where this girl went. And anyways, all this. Yeah, it's actually not a bad movie. Like, it's one that, again, another somewhat movie that we don't talk about a lot, a little more forgettable type. But overall, I was kind of surprised how much I enjoyed it when I was watching. I was like, yeah, I was really enjoying the characters. I really liked Bob Newhart's character. Bob Newhart does a great job because he has a kind of distinct voice. And I'm a big fan of his comedy. So I did like the two mice and their chemistry, I guess, the actors in that. And the villain was pretty good, actually. The lady, that the villain, is a little bit like Cruella de Vil to me. She has that kind of Cruella de Vil type, manicness to her. She has two pet like alligators, or like her, kind of like henchmen, which is pretty good, villain henchman kind of thing to have these two scary alligators. In fact, I believe she stands on top of them with a rope, and she rides them like skis because I think they're like in the swamp area, like down south or something like that is where she's keeping this girl. Yeah, it's funny. I can't say a lot of details because I don't remember a lot because I've seen it a couple times, but I remember last time I saw this movie, I was like, this is pretty good. It's actually better than I expected and much higher than I expected it to be, because it's not one that, like I said, I watch a lot or a lot of people talk about. Not one of the real classics, but it's one of those, I want to say it's around the 80s period, which is kind of this dark period of animation where Disney didn't put out a lot of big hits. But anyways, Rescuers, not a bad movie. It's not a bad one to check out. And number 33 ties in with that because number 33 is Rescuers Down Under, which is the sequel, which is interesting again because Rescuers you wouldn't think would have a sequel. I mean, maybe it was a bigger hit than I even realized. enough that they decided to do a sequel. And they do a lot of sequels off of these movies. In fact, I mean, even all the classics, they didn't really do sequels. You can't really think of a lot. And I'm thinking about the top of my head, you really don't do a lot of sequels, even of the really famous big budget, or big box office movies. If they do, they're straight to video. So it's interesting that they did a sequel to The Rescuers, and it was in the theater. What's interesting about The Rescuers Down Under is that it's the first movie of the Renaissance era, which you don't even realize, because you think more of Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid was kind of a bigger pop culture hit than The Rescuers Down Under. But The Rescuers Down Under actually came right before, or maybe right at, I might be wrong. Maybe it was Little Mermaid, then this one. I might be totally off on that now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe Little Mermaid was the first one, but I think this one came right after it, right before Beauty and the Beast. So you always think of Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, but you forget about this one. Now I'm thinking about it, I think this one was like right in between those two big juggernaut movies. So it doesn't get talked about as much, but again, I like that, we're taking the two same characters, like I said, the two Bob Newhart and Zsa Zsa Gabor characters. This time they're dating, they're in a relationship. In fact, he wants to propose to her, so he's in love with her. I mean, he wants to marry her, basically. So we're already, so from the first one, it's a pretty good continuation of the first movie in that way. And they're more veterans, I guess, of the rescue organization that they're in. And of course, this time, as it says, Down Under, they go to Australia because a boy, there's a boy in Australia. My lights keep flickering here. This boy kind of gets kidnapped because he finds a golden eagle or something, an eagle with golden feathers, who he flies on top of, in fact. And this poacher, played by George C. Scott, really great villain, George C. Scott, and he has like a pet, like, what do you call it, big lizard, like a giant lizard, kind of his companion, which plays a pretty good, evil pet, whatever you want to call it, animal for the villain. And George Scott, of course, is a really great actor, really good choice here as a villain. And so he kidnaps the boy and trying to figure out where, because he finds the boy has a golden feather, and so he's trying to figure out where this golden eagle is, because if he can catch this golden eagle, then he can make a lot of money, all this stuff, because it's probably the only one of its kind, very rare. So they go to Australia, and they meet an Australian mouse. There again, they fly the albatross, which now is John Candy, who is very funny in the movie. Very good voice work by John Candy. In fact, I had this in my top 10 John Candy movies, performances anyways, was this one. And there's this whole thing where he gets hurt, and I forget who it is. These one animals are trying to fix him, and he's like, "No, don't," because I didn't think they were going to give him a shot or something like that, because he got hurt on landing or something. But there's a bit of a love triangle, because there's this Australian mouse who kind of charms the female mouse, anyways, and so Bob Newhart, that mouse, is really jealous, and so you get this really good kind of love triangle type thing, between them. But yeah, anyways, overall, yeah, this movie I think is better than Rescuers, because it's definitely better animated. Like, that's the big thing you see between the two. The at this point, the animation was getting really good. It was the first movie to use this. I don't know if it was used CGI in animation or something like that. What do you call it? Because there's this part in the movie where the boy's like flying on, I think, on top of the eagle or something like that, and you see the eagle flying and the point of view of the eagle. It's a really cool flying scene. It's like it's a groundbreaking moment, really, in animation. But it was something very new, like the way they were able to animate and be able to move the camera around as it's flying. It was something that hadn't been done before. And I know Jacob Martin, my friend Jacob Martin, would probably know what do you call it. But it was a new technology that they used for the first time for this movie. So that was really cool animated wise. But the whole animation is really good. Like, it's definitely a very big step up from The Rescuers. And I think that, like I said, that helps it become a better movie. And it's another underrated movie. It's not a movie that people talk about, but it is very solid. It's 3 stars for me. So it's one I haven't seen very much. So maybe if I see it more, it'd get higher on my list. But overall, another good action kind of adventure story. Like I said, some good comedy with John Candy's albatross character, I think. Great villain as well. Yeah, and just like I said, those flying scenes are really cool with the eagle. Yeah, definitely another one that you should check out if you haven't seen The Rescuers Down Under. Yeah, one of the forgotten Renaissance movie, because they actually use the same technology in Beauty and the Beast when they're singing the Beauty and the Beast song and they're in the ballroom dancing and the camera swoops down and stuff like that. It's that same kind of technology that was just invented for this movie, Rescuers Down Under, which is kind of a cool fact. Anyways, but yeah, so number 33, Rescuers Down Under. Number 32, we're going all the way back to the beginning. We're going to the first movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs here at number 32. Yeah, so I said a lot of the old classics, the what you call the golden period or whatever, very revered because it was the first of its kind. Because this is the first time we've ever had. I mean, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, of course, was the first full-length animation movie that ever put out, and put out by, of course, Walt Disney. And everybody said you couldn't do it. You couldn't do a full length because everything was shorts, of course. Everything was short movies and all that. And yeah, everybody said no one's going to sit through a hour and a half animated movie. It's just never been done before, and they never thought again. Of course, now they were way wrong. I mean, we've had so many great animated movies since then, and it's become a big staple in movies in general. And usually, it's some of the biggest box office movies, like Inside Act 2. Inside Act 2 is the biggest box office movie this year. So yeah, so they eventually would grow and take over and be a big market for movies. So we see that they were way wrong for that. But yeah, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs though, yeah, real solid first movie, I think. Like I said, I'm not, as you know, if you pay attention to my list, like Fantasia was second to last. I really don't like Fantasia. Also, well, I can look at my list here. Bambi was at number 53, and Pinocchio was at number 48. So, I mean, some of these gold period, whatever, movies aren't very high on my list, except for two of them, as we'll see here. But Snow White and Seven Dwarfs here, number 32. I mean, still got, it's towards, I mean, it's right at the middle, actually. Yeah, it's 62 movies. 32 were, well, maybe just pretty much right in the middle of my list is Snow White. So it might seem kind of low if you're like I know Jacob Martin probably has this much higher on this list. Again, only 3 stars, which might seem kind of a low score for it, but it does hurt that it's so old. It's from 1937, I think, and the animation is definitely not great, like because it's beginning animation. It's I mean, so you can't hurt it too much, I suppose, but yeah, it is noticeable, the animation, in some senses. And I think the biggest problem with this movie is that it's kind of boring, very slow movie until we get to the dwarfs. And I guess the reason why I have it so high is because the dwarfs are great, really great. The Seven Dwarfs, I mean, come on, such iconic characters. And I think they did such a great job of, making them different. You can tell each one, and they have their own funny characteristic, of course. Is the best part of the dwarfs, and how they interact. I've always, like, of course, Dopey's always been probably my favorite as a kid, just because he's more of the silent, he doesn't talk, but he's more of the physical comedy of the movie. I love when he takes the diamonds, and they're like diamond miners, and he takes a diamond and puts it in his eyes, and you see all these, he does little funny stuff like that. And his clothes, of course, are too big for him. He falls down a lot. As I got older, I kind of started liking Grumpy better. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm getting older, I'm more grumpy myself, and so I relate to the grumpy character. And I don't know, I kind of enjoy him quite a bit. How he's just always angry. It's just, I don't know, something about that. It makes me laugh. I also like Bashful quite a bit. Bashful has some funny lines here and there. Oh gosh, and then gets all red. I don't know. He makes me laugh quite a bit. So it's hard to say who's my favorite. Like those 3 right now are like, I always really enjoy those 3. But yeah, once the dwarfs come in and after they kind of had, the Snow White basically breaking entering their house and sleeps in their bed, and then they think it's what do they think? They think it's a monster or something, and then they find out it's a girl. Then they become friends with her, and then that's when the movie really takes off. And they have the old, she sings that song, and they have the dance, and And it's it's not the best music in the world, but it's not bad. There's some One Day My Prince Will Come is the big song, and hi ho, off to work, or whatever the dwarf song there. Some decent stuff there and here. Another big problem is the romance is not very well developed. The prince isn't very well developed. I think it's Prince Charming. Maybe it's the prince here. Um, all of a sudden at the end he kisses her and they're in love. It's like, okay, that seems a little quick, but that's why he's barely in it. That's kind of the problem. The witch is a great villain. Oh my gosh, what a great villain! The evil, I guess she's an evil stepmother, or whatever, who's a witch, and when she turns into the ugly witch, that scene is great. And the whole poison apple thing, very well done villain. And of course she has her comeuppance, as well. But yeah, there's some good moments here with the dwarves and the witch. Like I said, if it was paced a little bit better, it'd be higher on my list. But still, it's a classic. It's the very first movie. Still one worth watching, I think, if you haven't seen it. So I got number 32, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And 31, the last movie I'm going to talk about on this list, is actually, it's the last movie of the Golden Period. And it's my favorite of that period, and that's Dumbo. Yeah, Dumbo, which might have been the fifth of the movie I think made in that period, which is like early 40s, like 41 or 42 it came out. It's very short. It's like 80 minutes long or something like that, or maybe even less. But I don't know. I really like Dumbo, and maybe that's because when I was a kid, I had Dumbo like on a VHS tape or something like that. So I used to watch the heck out of Dumbo. It was one of the movies I watched the most of as a kid. And so maybe that's why I have so much nostalgia for Dumbo, and I kind of love it for that. I don't know. I really enjoy the story of the elephant who gets made fun of because of the big ears. At the bowling aspect of it. I love Timothy the mouse. Oh, what a great character! Kind of reminds me a little bit of Jiminy Cricket. The small character who stands up for the main character, Dumbo, while everybody bullies Dumbo. Timothy stands up for him. Really love Timothy the mouse. Very well voice acted and all that. Well, I guess about the story, it's a sad story. It actually makes me cry. I mean, I didn't think I'd cry to Dumbo. It's been a while since I've seen it, but when I saw it last time. You probably know the story, but the mother attacks like a human being because the human being was being mean to Dumbo, and she was just a mother, protecting her kid. And so then she gets locked up because of it. They lock her up, and so Dumbo has to go to her, her where she's locked up, and Dumbo's mother can take her trunk out through the bars and hold Dumbo in her arms. Oh my gosh, tears fly when I see that scene. Even today, even in my 40s, I bawl my head off at that scene. It's so sad. The mother can only hold the Dumbo. She's locked up for only protecting him. Anyways, very sad stuff. But yeah, the best part is, like I said, it's not very long. And when you get to the end is so great. It's so satisfying. He gets back at everybody that's kind of was bullying him, making fun of him for his ears. Of course, he finds out that he can fly because the big ears. One of those things was like, he's kind of like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Like everybody bullies you for being different, but then what makes you different actually makes you great and special and do something that nobody else can do. I love the whole story idea. Is really cool. And I love the Black Crows at the end, which I think is controversial because they seem racist because they're Black Crows and they have, kind of accents, that might seem racist, I guess. I don't know. My friend Nick says this, and I say the same thing. And Jake Martin agrees with me when we talked about this movie. It's like, they're just really fun characters. They're, helping out Dumbo, how to fly, and all that. And that song is real catchy, and it's nice. And I do love that whole scene where they meet the Black Crows at the end. Probably my favorite characters in the movie. My oh my, I never seen an elephant fly, the whole stuff. But and then we get to the ending with Dumbo having to jump and then fly and shock everybody. And comes the big star of the show. So satisfying. I mean, it's simple storytelling, but it's really satisfying. The, person gets made of, the odd one gets made fun of. gets bullied, and then comes out at the end. You know, you always gotta love this kind of stories. And Elephant on Parade, the very trippy. I'm not a big fan of that scene. It's a little too trippy, but very interesting animation for its time. So yeah, Dumbo, maybe surprised, but number 31. So exactly right in the middle of, because there's 62 Disney animation movies. Dumbo comes right in the middle of 31. Yeah, so another recommendable movie here for me, Dumbo. So that's the end of my list for today, my 35 to 31. Definitely got some older movies here. I mean, you got some 30s, 40s, 80s, and so forth. Anyways, that's the last you can see of those old movies. Most of everything else is going to be a little bit newer. You'll see anyways. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you.